Hey guys, it's Em. And today we're going to be making a video I never really expected to make. Now I'd say I'm a fan of the RGG games for the most part. I played Lost Paradise and I really enjoyed it, and later I ended up playing Yakuza 0 to 3.
I really enjoyed 0, but the rest, that's a conversation for a separate time.
What did he do, bro?
But what I want to talk about here is the combat. In Yakuza, I wouldn't really say it's amazing, but it's definitely unique. But when it comes to Lost Paradise, I'd say it's probably my favorite one to casually play for the combat. Not just because I like seeing Ken do stuff, though that's a part of it, but generally it felt like it flowed a lot better for me. His actions overall felt smoother. Perfect channeling points give you a quick and efficient way to take out normal goons without heat and do a ton of damage to bosses. Burst mode feels powerful and imitates when Ken would get serious in the show really well. The special technique animations make you really feel like Ken, and it's amazing to see some attacks he didn't even get to finish in the show or didn't get to do be done here. And I could most likely go on and on about that. But there's one mechanic that's frequently overlooked and for good reason, the Death Omen star. When your health gets to 10% or so, or you're using Rao's sealing knife item, the Death Omen star activates, and if you have all the abilities unlocked, you get 50% more damage, the ability to jump like you're in burst, and it's easier to open up enemies for perfect channeling. Those are cool buffs, but considering you have to put yourself in one-shot territory for it, it's not really worth it, and not many bother with this mechanic at all. Let alone, it's not that hard to gather healing items across the game, so you're never really forced in a position to stay at low health. But me, having played this game for an unhealthy amount of time, I started toying around with it and using Rao's sealing sword to keep it constantly on. And on top of discovering all the things I had just told you about, I also found this one little mechanic. One mechanic so strong I couldn't believe I hadn't heard of it at all. Flurry of strikes. When hitting perfect channeling, Kenshiro can go from one target to the next, hitting their pressure points even if they haven't been damaged before. Now this is absolutely fucking busted. Stronger than Tiger Drop, stronger than Extreme Heat moves, all of that. This allows you to instantly kill practically any goon and chain into killing another one. You may have noticed that it just says multiple enemies in the description of this, but in truth it has no limit to how many enemies you can hit as long as you keep hitting perfect pressure points. The moment I read about it, I immediately wanted to try it, and I get killed trying to hit the enemies. I couldn't activate it 99% of the time. It would only chain to one other person before stopping. It was driving me up the wall. I'm pretty sure there are even some text around on Discord of me tweaking out about it. So why wasn't it working? This is when I found out about a separate mechanic. Supreme Channel. You see, perfect channeling is what you normally tend to do when you play this game. You hit your channeling point when it's glowing white, and this will insta-kill most enemies and do a chunk of damage. It's pretty effective on its own. Supreme channeling is what happens when you time your button press just as the circle fully closes on the button prompt. This gives you way more damage, makes enemies drop enough energy that you can immediately enter burst mode with one pickup, and this is what you have to perform in succession in order to activate this secret flurry of strikes effect. It took me a bit of practice, but once you get used to it, you might as well become the canon Kenshiro, because you'll pretty much insta-kill everything except for bosses. And oh my god, the sound effect of it is just so satisfying. You might be wondering what the chain range is, and it's really far. Unless they're halfway across the map or something, Ken will most likely be able to grab them. You might be wondering what happens if the target doesn't die or if there's two bosses, like the final Gladiator games pit you against. If you keep hitting the correct timing, Ken will begin ping-ponging between them until both of them die. And you have to remember, this is his stunning attack. This isn't a special technique. So even if you fail the perfect timing after a chain and just end up stunning the enemy, this leaves them open to a finisher anyway. And if you know how to trick the system and manage to avoid activating a special technique, you can use this opening from your failed stun to start another flurry of strikes chain. This is probably the most perfect mastery reward in any game I've ever played. The requirements alone make it extremely difficult to do. Then stack on top, you need near perfect timing to begin the chain in the first place, and what you've created is a move that beginners won't ever touch or even bother attempting to use, but if you're a sweat, like me, it's significantly stronger than everything else, and is an amazing reward for players who want to be pushed to the extreme like this, as nothing else in the game even comes close to how strong this is. I'm honestly shocked that it's in the RGG game of all things. Now, is it perfect? No, because everything I like has to be flawed in some kind of way. I'm a fucking Dark Souls 2 fan after all. Sometimes it'll just straight miss on mini bosses. If you're in the gladiator games, sometimes when you go to chain to a boss, they'll dodge before the animation even starts, which for some reason makes them invincible before they even move. This is annoying for obvious reasons, and if you're not in burst mode, there's a good chance you might immediately die for it. This is more of a general game issue, but sometimes if there are too many enemies nearby, Ken will just refuse to grab the person you have ready to be stunned. Another general game problem, but if you're in burst and do the jump attack to knock everyone else away, then go for your perfect channel, there's a good chance he might do the jaggy ground finisher instead, which in normal gameplay isn't really that bad, but here's the difference between immediately clearing out an entire room or not. And again, since your health is so low, you might get slugged if things go wrong. Overall though, it's still a really amazing feature to have and play around with. If you have Lost Paradise, I recommend you guys at least try to use it, as it adds a really fun level of skill expression to the game. Anyways, this is just something I noticed and thought it was so cool I wanted to make a video about it. As always, as long as you're respectful, I'm glad to discuss with you guys in the comments, and I've been Aaron, and I am out.